Welcome, bet riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report Town Hall numero deux, as our friends in France would say. Yes, this is our second town hall, our new weekly updates on the world of recumbent bike and trike riding. And we are really excited to have you all with us today. These kind of pared down shows have turned out to be not so pared down. We keep expanding. Everybody wants to be on, and we have so many interesting things to share with you. So thanks for tuning in today. We've already got a bunch of folks on the live chat. Hi, Julie, Lovegrove, and Mark in the UK. We've got a kind of UK-centric show as well today, as you'll see in a minute. Peter Vick, Gary has overslept. Oh, I don't know if what he's talking about. Hello, Joe McCormick up in Michigan. And so we're happy to have all you guys with us. We're going to pop some more live chat stuff up on the screen here shortly. But let me tell you a little bit about our town halls so that you guys can get familiar with this concept and hopefully participate in it. So first of all, the focus is on you, the viewers, and hopefully bringing some of you on as guests as we do these shows. So you can come on and be a guest panelist and share some of your ideas and experiences with your fellow recumbent riders here. So if you want to become a panelist on our next show, let us know. You can tell us in live chat and so that we know that you're interested. And what you'll need to do is send us an email at laidbackbikereport@gmail.com. And then we will contact you and arrange to have you come and be on the show on a future Laidback Bike Report Town Hall. You'll need a webcam, a computer, and if needed, you don't really have a laptop or a computer, we can probably even do it with a smartphone if necessary. So if you have at least those minimum requirements, come on aboard. We'd love to have you. So, all right. So the Laidback Bike Report Town Halls, we're focusing on you as guests. We also are going to have industry leaders on the show on a more personal level, perhaps doing some Ask Me Anything sessions. In fact, we have one today. I'll tell you about it in a minute. And we have an illustrious panel, as we always do. And we're hoping to take some of your general questions or some questions that have been suggested online, and maybe just some of my own questions. So, and one of my questions is, why did Trey just show up there? Okay, that's fine. Let's not worry about that. All right, folks. So in today's town hall, let me give you the rundown today. We have some recumbent news from around the globe to share with you. We have Jon Hodkin, InnerTuba, with us again today. Always exciting to have him with us. He's going to share some notes and some music. Share some notes. Denez Bodennec is here from France, and he's going to show us his new Duo Quest Velomobile. This is one of the most amazing velomobiles you've ever seen, so stay tuned for that. Another UK participant, Patrick Selwood, our pal from ICE Trikes, is with us today. And he's going to talk about what's going on at ICE these days and hopefully have an AMA session. So ask me anything is what Patrick is saying. So I'm going to tell you now, put your questions for Patrick about general questions about trikes, hopefully specific questions about ICE Trikes in the chat. Ask him up anytime during the show, and then he's going to be on a little bit later on. We'll pull him out and ask those questions of him. We have Larry Varney back with us, and he's going to do a review of the Lumos Helmet that he has been touting. He wore at the big honkin' trike rally a few weeks ago as well. So we're going to talk to Larry about that. We have, I believe, one classified that we requested and got. So we're going to talk about that. And then if we still have some time left, we're going to have a little general panel discussion on some wide-ranging topics. So that ought to be enough. Hello, Trey. Now, I think what Trey keeps peeking out because it's time to meet the crew. And so let's do it this way. Bring us all up here, if you could, Larry. There we go. And let's start with Trey. So from Jackson, Mississippi, it is our media guy, Trey Burgoyne. Hello, Trey.
Hello. No idea why I popped up there, so I guess I was just destiny.
It's always happy to have you popping up. All right. And Denny Voorhees is down in Floral City, Florida on the Withlacoochee Trail there. Hello, Denny.
Hey, how you doing? Pretty steamy down here today.
Is it steamy? All right. Well, it's good to have you. And we have back with us from Dallas, Texas, Doug Davis. Hey, Doug.
Hey, very good to be here. It's not steamy. It is severe clear and about 68 degrees right now.
Not too bad. Let's go to Cold Spring, Kentucky, where we will find Larry Varney. Hey, Larry.
Hi. It's, well, I'm looking at my thermometer. It's 74 degrees and partially cloudy, very windy, wind speeds in the low 20s. Rained an inch last night, but looked like most of the crap went north and west of us. So Columbus and soon Rochester, New York is going to be getting it. But I'm glad to be here.
That's the important thing. Yeah. Thanks for the weather update. And I don't think Peter is with us yet, but we hope to have. Oh, there we go. Pop Peter on there. There we go. Hey, Peter. Peter Stoll, Alfred Station, New York, the Bicycle Man.
Hi.
Well said.
I rode down here today and it was not raining, and I hope the rain doesn't get here from Larry until after we're done and I get home.
Yeah. All right.
If it does, it'll be Larry's fault.
And isn't everything. All right. There you go. Great, guys. All right. Let me tell you today, we have some sponsors that you guys are probably familiar with. First of all, today's show is sponsored by TerraCycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent, and trailside.bike, a fine recumbent bike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida. And for a limited time, get a free trike for your buddy when you buy a new Azub or HP trike at Trailside. We're going to have that link with the information on that below in the description. And Cruise Bike, designed for the cyclist who wants to ride farther, climb faster, and adventure more. All Cruise bikes and frame sets are shipped free in the USA. And TerraTrike, host of RiderFest 2020. Now, there's a number of cities that were set up for this RiderFest, guys, and you're going to have to watch their website for updates. First one was Atlanta, Georgia. That already has been canceled. Next one is scheduled in Cleveland, I know. So Cleveland, Minneapolis, Lincoln, Nebraska were lined up. Please check with their website, TerraTrike.com, and you can get the updated information on that. And the Hostel Shop, America's premier recumbent dealer with the largest variety of recumbents, parts, and accessories in stock and ready to ship to your door. All right, folks. So we were talking about TerraTrike. WheelWiz is the company that holds TerraTrike and KMX and now Greenspeed, as you know. There was a big announcement concerning the COVID-19 pandemic and how they were planning on handling distribution. So let me read that announcement from WheelWiz that was out this week. Curbside pickup. WheelWiz launches ambitious dropship program for dealers and trikers amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Grand Rapids, Michigan is where they are. To support dealers and consumers during the COVID-19 pandemic, the WhizWheel family of brands is extending a special dropship program for TerraTrike, Greenspeed, and KMX carts. This program addresses the needs of customers who do not wish to visit a dealer, as well as those dealers that have temporarily closed their doors as a cautionary measure. The safety and continued good health of triking community, including retailers, is the top priority of WhizWheels. This was set up by Marshall Randall, our pal, who's the sales and marketing director at WhizWheels. Trikes will be fully assembled and sent directly to the end-use consumer using WhizWheel packaging. TerraTrike, Greenspeed, and KMX accessories will be mounted as is reasonable and proper for safe transport. Some user assembly may be required for certain accessories. I guess they can't always put everything on and ship. So it's them trying to make do in some very difficult circumstances. And I'm sure the other trike manufacturers have plans in place as well. In fact, we'll probably ask Patrick about that a little later and see what ICE is up to. All right, what else is in the news? Our pal Joseph Janning, our German friend via Facebook says, uncertain what to do in times of social distancing when you meet a riding buddy coming your way on the trails, stay in your antivirus shell and chat. But it's best to wear this antiseptic green Laidback Bike Report cap. Looks good on you, Joseph. Thank you so much for that. And from Richard Romai via Facebook, the governor is requiring us to stay on campus, but I'm permitted to ride inside early in the morning and late at night. My TerraTrike Rover has become my ticket to sanity. TerraTrike owners, stay safe. He's at Vitalia Senior Residences in Strongsville. Now, what you see there, folks, is his is that, I don't know what site that is. It's not Strava, but it is a mapping site. And there you see his ride that probably came from what you just saw on that video. So it's a bit of a circle, and it's a bit confined, but interesting nonetheless. So very good. All right, so let's move on. Thank you very much, Richard, for allowing us to use that. It's time to move on to our guest segments at this point. We have a bunch of them here. And one of my good pals, one of my favorite guests on the show is Jon Hodkin, otherwise known as InnerTuba. Jon, hello.
How are you today, Gary?
Well, you know, I am doing well, thank you, so far. And you are ensconced in Scotland, are you?
Yeah, I'm in the northernmost town on the UK mainland, a place called Thurso, and it's actually quite a good place to be at the moment because the population is quite, it's quite sparse. There's not many people up here. There's not a lot of people movements, and we haven't had much of the dreaded virus word. We haven't had many positives up here, and it's quite peaceful. So yeah, it's okay compared to many places I could be in the world now. I'm not too unhappy that I'm not able to swap.
Absolutely. All right. So, Jon, let's talk a little bit about some news that you have, some updates, and then we'll get started with this, and then I think we'll take a quick look back at the basis for this update. Go ahead and tell us what's going on with InnerTuba.
Well, the good news literally in the last 2 weeks, my old friends now, ICE Trikes yet again, and Connecticut Yankee Peddler have combined, and with their combined support, it looks likely that I'm going to be able to tour back in the USA again in 2021. In 2019, as we'll see in the video, I rode Ragbri and I rode up a little bit of the Mississippi River, giving performances along the way. And of that journey, the most impressive and the most impressionable bit of it was actually the Mississippi. So I kind of hatched the idea that wouldn't it be great on a return visit to ride the entire Mississippi from the mouth of it right down south of New Orleans in the wetlands, all the way to its source in northern Minnesota. The Mississippi River Trail, which is it's certainly got trail status in a lot of it, but I think it's a bit piecemeal at the moment. But certainly, if you keep the river on your left or on your right, you're likely to go through 10 states. You go through 5 major cities, some of which I've been to before, and all being well, I'll be able to set off around about this time next year, maybe middle of February. I was thinking from south of New Orleans, arriving in northern Minnesota at the mouth around about 4 months later, which is going to give me tons of time to commune with bands and schools, because the schools will be open, and meet people in their own homes, do some house concerts, meet up with other musicians, and all of that good stuff, which all happened last time when I was in America, thanks to ICE Trikes and Connecticut Yankee Peddler then too. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that is the great segue, since you mentioned last time. We have a little video, and folks, at this point, let me just share with you the fact that some of the media things that we're going to do on this show are experimental. May not go quite smoothly, but we've worked on this, so hopefully it'll work. Trey, if you are ready to go, let's go ahead and see that video of Jon from this past year. Very nice, John. That gives you folks an idea of the type of adventure that John goes in for, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot more adventure coming up next year, hopefully. And we're looking forward to doing that. John, anything else to add before we close you out here?
No, I think that'll be fine for now. Thank you.
It's a pleasure as always. And John, if you wouldn't mind, a little tune, if you would, before you leave.
Thank you.
Wow, that's I usually like to end on a high note, but when you have Jon Hodkin on, you're unlikely to do that. So, John, a pleasure having you on again, buddy. We will see you again soon.
Thanks again. Yeah, good luck.
Thanks for the update. All right, guys. And now let's move along to France with a gentleman who I had a chance to meet online very recently with a very interesting story. It is Denez Bodennec. Denez, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. Denez, you might have told me, but I've forgotten. Where in France are you?
I live in Brittany. It's west of France. It's total west. It's like the nose of France.
Very nice. Okay. Well, so the story, folks, is that Denez is working on a very unusual velomobile known as the Duo Quest, and he has written up a little information of text that I can read to you guys about the origin of this and what he's been doing on it, and then he'll be available to hopefully answer any of the questions that you may have about it. So, Denez, let me start reading this, and then we'll get back to you here shortly. So, Duo Quest construction continues. It all started on this day in January 2019 when Theo from velomobile.nl sent me this message. Hello, Denez. Could this be something for you? The aim was to manufacture a new Duo Quest for a French customer. A few seconds of reflection, and I said, yes, I could do it, provided I could also make a second one for me. For me, it did not pose insurmountable technical problems, and then we could solve any problems that popped up as the work progressed. So the truck arrived at the end of February. The body mold is in 5 parts, 4 for the lower part and 1 for the top. And in addition, there are several smaller molds: rear wheel passage, seat, cross reinforcement between the front wheels, derailleur protection on the left side. The first thing was to order the material for the manufacture of the parts. The carbon fabric being supplied by velomobile.ro. So everything else is resin, glue, epoxy primer, grabbing fabric, environmental products, and some technical fabrics. There's about 50 to 60 square meters of a 200 gram per square meter carbon fiber to make this machine. It takes that much, I should say. Then I started manufacturing the parts, 2 in each mold, 1 to assimilate the manufacturing techniques, and the second for the customer's velomobile. The first parts will be used to make the number 2. By the end of the summer, the lower part of the hull was assembled, the crossbar between the front wheels and the rear wheel arches attached to the hull. The 2 copies of the upper part of the hull were made by the end of September. The next phase was the assembly of the mechanical parts. The problem is they took time to come from Holland and not all at the same time. They had a hard time getting them to us from velomobile.ro. In short, I mounted the front steering train, the booms, the headlights, and made all the drilling holes for the lights. As time went on, I decided to prepare the hull for painting, although the rear drivetrain components had not yet arrived from Holland. It came back from painting in January, so we had to use the rear drivetrain that I had received earlier that month. Again, I had to improvise to achieve the bindings that stiffened the whole build. The central sandwich partition stiffens the whole thing and at the same time serves to attach the upper part. Then it was time to do the electrics, identical to that of a Quest with a few additional LEDs at the back. After a lot of work, it did its first laps after mid-February. Some adaptations proved essential to enhance the front fasteners of the velomobile seats and to make a cut in the central bulkheads at the shoulders. Then the future owner, wishing to adapt an electrical assist, we had to use 2 engine types from, I guess they're called all axles from Grintech that were set up in the front wheels. The advantage of these engines, in addition to having torque, is to offer regenerative braking, which on a machine of this type is very useful to preserve the disc brakes in large descents. Again, I fumbled before finding the best position for each material while having well-protected cable passages. At the end of March, the machine waits for the end of containment to make its future owner happy. In short, my feelings after 100 or so kilometers, even if solo, is it runs well and has no effect on the handling. The machine is healthy, the electrical assistance brings a little lightness to it, and there is a trunk for luggage, and we certainly, while riding this, do not go unnoticed. However, it is not a racing machine. Even with two people riding it, you must spare no effort to bring it at high speed on the flat. The differences compared to the model manufactured by Velomobile about 10 years ago, all carbon fiber, pedal accesses on the front, the Quattrevelo type seat that is easily adjustable in position, and fewer aluminum parts. So there we go, Denez. That's amazing. So first of all, let's be clear, and then I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and we'll see if we have some comments or questions. So for folks who don't know, the Duo Quest is a side-by-side version of the Quest Velomobile. Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, you have 2 chain line, and each one pedal as he wants. So you can one cannot pedal and the other can pedal. It's like you want.
All right. Well, here's a guy who knows a little something about velomobiles. We had mentioned a post from him before. This is Joseph Janning. Hello, Joseph. Did you also have a comment here? Okay, maybe I didn't see another one. But oh yeah, here we go. That is not it. There we go. Yeah, it may not be very practical. You know, Denez, what I'd like to know is you mentioned in that piece about it being 10 years since the original Duo Quest was made, and I'm not really familiar with all that. So 10 years ago, did Velomobile NL create like one Duo Quest for themselves? Is that what it was?
Yes, they create one Duo Quest, and they make a mold for that, and they built one Duo Quest, and they don't want to build more because I don't know why, because it's a lot of work.
It may be that they didn't think there was much of a market for it. Maybe they didn't think that many people would be interested in it.
I think they can sell few GeoQuest more. Yes, I think. Because when I post on Facebook, some people was interested in. But on the road, in fact, it's not a problem because it's a little bit wider than standard Velomobile. Standard is around 80 centimeters. This one is 1 meter 25 max. So the car does not make difference on the road.
Very good. Well, here's one from our pal John Williams. He says, "Hi, Dennis. Good to see you live on the show finally, and your superb work being showcased." So there you go. And John, I'm sure, is a fan. We have another question, a more specific one. Doug, did you have a question while you're there, or you just want to be part of it? You're muted, Doug. We can't hear you.
I said I did have a question. Actually,
please.
a couple of questions. One is one somebody wants to know how much it weighs. Without the assist in there, what the show weight was. But the really important one, the one that's very personal to me and that I really need an answer for as soon as you can, is I looked all over the postings and I never could find the add to cart button. So I'm trying to figure out how I could add that into my shopping cart and check out.
From velomobile.nl? Is that what you...
From anywhere, Dennis has got another customer. He knows I want one bad. So
yeah, so that's a question I have for you, Dennis. So you are working with the processors. You are working with Velomobile NL. You decide you want to make more of these. So will you be creating and selling more of these?
No, I don't decide. I will make the second one for me, which will be a little bit different because we'll have 4 20-inch wheel on the rear axle of Quattro Velo at the rear. So with only a central shed line, and but two crankset in the front. And so after that, we have to discuss with Velomobile NL of if they wanted to make more, because there are some customer interested in. And if they want, if they say it's okay, I will build the body with a different process, which will be more easy.
A little bit more efficient for building more of them. All right, here's a question. Are the drum brakes in front? What are the brakes?
No, it's a disc brake at the front. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have disc brakes? Yeah, tell us about the brakes all around. Tell us what you have.
Yes, on mine you will have also, as it was a rear axle of Quattro Velo, I will have a disc brake on four wheel. Okay,
very good. So I'm guessing Kirk is asking about what sort of steering this has. So can you tell us about the steering?
Yeah, it's a tiller. It's a tiller like Quest. There are 2 tillers, in fact, one for each. But there are a captain, and the captain is a boss. So the other one is only have only to change its gear and.
So the steering and the controls will be on the left side, and then it'll be like in the center. The steering's in the center on the right side of the captain. Yes.
No, all the tiller are the 2 tiller are you can direct with all the 2 tiller. If you want.
2 tiller. Okay.
The brake are only on the left.
I gotcha. You'll have to show us some pictures of that when you have a shot of the inside. I think people would like to know. Yes. All right. Doug did ask, and I see Joseph is asking as well. Do you have some idea on the weight of this monster velomobile?
The 55 kilograms. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I guess that's to be expected.
But,
And
could be less next time.
it could be made. It could be made lighter, I'm sure. So,
Yes.
and here's our friend Julie and Mark Lovegrove. Now here are potential buyers, as far as I can see. Here's a married couple living in England who ride recumbent bikes all over the world. I think they would be the prime candidate for one of these duo quests. They want to know, how much does it cost? Do you have an idea what it would cost to buy one at this stage anyways? They're good friends. Do the best you can for them. What can you do, Denez?
Yeah. Velomobile decide for the price. The price is 12,000 euro.
About 12,000 euro?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. That's a ballpark anyways.
Without e-assist. Without e-assist.
Sure, of course. All right. That I think would probably cover it up. Denez, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to say about it at this point?
No.
Okay. I know it's difficult for your English is fine.
Maybe when I will have finished the second one, I can come back.
We will have you back on for sure, and we'll see some more pictures of the finished product and maybe more of the inside, and we'll follow you. We're gonna continue following the Duo Quest story. So thanks for contacting me. It was a pleasure to meet you, and great to have you on the Laidback Bike Report. Thanks, Denez.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now. All right, folks. It's time now to move on to Patrick Selwood. Let's bring Patrick up. There we go. Patrick, hi. How you doing?
Yeah, doing very well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure, as always. ICE Trikes, folks, in Cornwall, England, and ICE is dealing with the current coronavirus situation, just like all the rest of us are. So we've got a couple of just general pictures of trikes and ICE and stuff. So Larry, go ahead and pop those on. And while we look at that, Patrick, can you give us a little update on what the latest is from ICE at this point?
Yeah, so at the moment we're still shipping trikes. We've done a lot to kind of reduce the risk for our workforce. We've made sure that kind of people are able to keep separated by reducing the number of people in the building. We've got the vast majority of our office now working from home, and we've also, basically just kept the workshop staff to an absolute minimum to make sure we can keep trikes going out and keep customers happy without taking any unnecessary risks. So yeah, we're being really careful, but we're still shipping trikes at the moment.
Good. There's a nice shot of you guys, and maybe happier times out front, but
a couple of weeks ago now, yeah.
so what have you done within the company you're just all working from home, or are you just going in on short shifts? What's going on at the company to handle this?
So yeah, I mean, everyone who can work from home is now working from home full time. So myself and Hannah, we do a lot of the customer support stuff. We're at home now, and our accounts people are at home as well. We've got our laptop set up and we can communicate with the ICE servers. And then, all of our workshop staff, the vast majority, we've got this system in the UK for, basically they're going to pay staff salaries from the government. So we've put a number of our people onto that program just to reduce the burden on our people, so that we can keep them further apart from each other. Making sure that everyone is not breathing down each other's necks in the workshop. We've gone up from about 20 to 25 people to over 35 in the last 2 to 3 years. So we're now in a position where there's quite a lot of us in quite a small space in Falmouth. So we've taken a lot of steps to reduce that number of people in the building and just make sure that everyone is kind of not going to immediately pass everything around between them, which is,
that's what you're trying to avoid.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, can we talk just a bit about, you have a new program in which you are building up new trikes with the highest quality components possible, and that I guess that are the most popular. Can you tell us what that's called, and tell us a little bit about that program, would you?
Of course, yeah. So this is what we've called our Ultimate Collection. We took each of our trike models. We've got 6 trike models. We thought to ourselves, what would be the best possible trike in that model for the person we feel generally buys that trike from what we sell. So for instance, the VTX, it's our racing trike. We built up the World Champion Edition, which is based on the VTX that won the last 2 World Championships under Mathieu Leroux, and we've spec'd it to the max with every possible thing to make it go as fast as possible. And then we've got our Adventure HD Ultimate Collection trike, which is, again, built up with the highest possible spec, but with a completely different rider in mind. So this is kind of aiming at someone who has the money to spend and wants to go out and enjoy their ride on the trails and on the kind of bike paths as much as possible. We've gone with, electric assist, roll-off gearing, a range of accessories to make that comfortable, relaxed cruising ride as good as it can possibly be. And we're doing that basically across the board of all the trikes we do. So if you're interested in getting a really bespoke, amazing trike from ICE, we're doing a program with these Ultimate Collection trikes as well, where one of us from ICE will call you and talk to you, and we'll work through getting the spec just right for you. They're not just an off-the-shelf kind of, this spec is the ultimate. It's about tailoring the machine to suit you. We've built what we call like a seed configuration to give you an idea of a starting point, but that's not the end of it. You can choose anything you like to kind of mix it around and make it just perfect for yourself.
All right, folks. Remember, just jump on live chat if you have any further questions for Patrick about ICE Trikes. That would be great. We will ask him. And I have one more for you, more about practical aspects again of what's going on. So we saw the news report earlier, Patrick, from WizWheels, and I'm wondering, as far as your distribution goes in the States, for instance, you're well known for having probably the best, at least overseas distribution here. But under these circumstances, have you made plans or are in the process of making plans with your dealers in the US, for instance, about alternate means of delivery and that sort of thing? Have you guys thought about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have. I mean, as Doug mentioned earlier, a lot of the bike shops are able to stay open because they're an essential service. So we're still shipping trikes directly to our dealers for pickup by their customers at the moment. And in a few cases, there's quite a few where we've kind of rerouted a trike that was planning to ship directly to the dealer to, directly to the customer instead, because the customer was not able to travel because of travel restrictions that were placed on them. So we're kind of working on a case-by-case basis to make sure that our end customers get the best service they can.
Of course. All right, we go ahead and pop that up. So Jesus is the way. Jesus is the one way, apparently. Love my 2019 VTX, but my front pulley disintegrated during a ride yesterday. So what can they do? What about parts? I guess that's really what this comes down to.
Well, that's the first time I've heard of one of those VTX pulleys disintegrating. So that's very interesting. And I'd really like him to send a photo over to our email so I can check that out. And we will be able to ship him out a replacement immediately. Yeah, no worries there at all. We'll be able to ship directly to the customer there.
And tell us that email. I'll have it in the links below anyways. What's the email?
So that would be to sales@icetrikes.co.
All right. Well, apparently he sees and will do. So very, very good. David Lowe, a regular viewer. I'm not sure any new cloths. I'm not sure what that is, David. Can you be more clear about that? I
guess it probably means clothes, like apparel, kind of merchandise, that kind of thing.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of keeping that in the back of our minds. We're very busy with a lot of sort of trike-based things at the moment, but we're kind of thinking that some nice new t-shirts and that kind of thing would be good pretty soon. So kind of keep your eyes open, but not in the next month or two, that's for sure.
Yeah, priorities, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Important now. So, all right. So I think I don't see any more questions right this minute. Patrick, anything else you wanted to share with us before we go on?
No, not really. I mean, just make sure you all stay safe and keep riding your trikes if you're allowed to. And when you do, make sure you look after yourselves and keep separated from everyone else.
All right. So if you would, thank you, Patrick. It's always a pleasure having anyone from ICE, and especially having you on. You do a great job with them. All the guys do. If you wouldn't mind hanging on maybe through the show, and if we get some more questions, we can come back to you. So folks, yeah, more questions. We'll go back to Patrick and get them answered for you. So thanks for that. And with that, we're going to move down to Kentucky and Larry Varney. Larry, come on up here, will you? There we go. There we go. It's
standing around the barn. Well, not really, but
it's a virtual barn, and this is a virtual show, so this is how it goes. Larry, you're going to talk to us about the Lumos helmet that you are so fond of. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and we have some pictures, and take it away.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm talking about the helmet today is that when I was on that big honking trike rally down in Florida, which was really great, I recommend it to anyone. People were very impressed with the helmet. It has a light in the front, and in the back is a big display which has variable lighting things that really grabs the attention of fellow riders, hopefully automobile drivers, and so on. As you'll notice in this next picture coming up, it really does well. Then the padding you see in that picture, you can get different sizes for different size heads. My head is fairly big. You can ask anybody. And what you call it, that makes it fit just fine. The remote control actually for activating the lights is a little button in the strap. And there's a picture of one of the turn signal. There's an accessory part that comes with it. You put on your handlebars or wherever, and it's wireless. And that arrow will scroll from left to right or right to left, depending on which direction you're turning, and really gets attention. It's really great. I would show you the remote control, but it's down in the base or down in my garage. There it is, a picture of it. It works fine. Like I said, it's wireless and everything. I really like it. One of the reasons I'm talking about this helmet, not only is it was a big hit on that bike tour that I was on, but I've had people ask me questions like, do I really need to ride with a helmet when I'm riding a trike? And I have to say that there are times when I don't wear a helmet when I'm on a trike, but it's mainly if I'm going to be on a nice, straight, level, very few turns or anything, then I'll kind of think, I'll just wear one of my waltz caps. You've seen me in those. But if it's going to be something involving hills or something, that's when I say, yeah, wear a helmet. That's a good idea. A good friend of mine, and hi, Roger, hope you're watching. He was on one of the local bike trails a couple of years back, and it was, a relatively minor downhill, but it was kind of steep. And at one point, somebody pulled in front of him. He swerved to have missed him, turned over, hit his head. And the next thing he remembered is when the ambulance people were loading him into that ambulance. So he's become a true believer in wearing a helmet now on a trike all the time. So it's well recommended. But yeah, here's the helmet. You can see the size of the light back there that has variable displays. The headlight portion is up.
Hold it. Yeah, Larry, hold it up a little higher and right next to your head there. That's good. And then turn it around. Keep it close to your head. That way it'll be, that'll be.
I don't want to do it like this. Look, it's really big. No.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's like I said, the remote for activating it is on a little strap right here. And you won't be able to see much because it really affects the webcam I've got here. But you can see if there's lights moving, and you can have it go just on one display. You can go to others. You can make a twirl. You can do all kinds of stuff, which I was doing down there in Florida. And people were just coming up and saying, oh, we really like your helmet. Where can I get that? Well, basically, my advice is go out to BetRider Online and do a search when you go to the home page. Search for Lumos, Lumos, or possibly Matrix, because this is the model called the Matrix, which was one of my favorite movies. And you'll get all kinds of information about it. There'll be a link to their website for buying helmets and so on. I really highly recommend them. I have an earlier version than this too, which has smaller lights and not nearly the great display in the rear. They refer to that as the Kickstarter helmet. And this one is a Matrix again. And then there's one similar called the Street, which is nice, but I think, I don't know, it may only come in gray, maybe not. but I like a bright color so that people can see you better. So that's why I want to come on and talk about helmets. They're a good idea. You can ask my friend Roger, that you may think riding on a trike, you don't have that very far to fall. But even from that height, if you smack your head against cement, it can be serious. So I would advise, think about getting a helmet.
Very good, Larry. And we will we'll have the links to the Bent Rider, your Bent Rider review, and to Lumos as well in the description, so they don't have to. Our folks don't have to go hunting too far for them. So, all right, Larry, thank you so much. Let's see here. We have one. Okay, so this is a legitimate question, Larry. Maybe you're well placed to answer this. So you wear a helmet, but sometimes that headrest that you'll have on a trike or even some recumbent bikes might just interfere with you leaning back into that. Tell us what you do for that.
The problem is a lot of people think of it as being the headrest, and really it's technically a neck rest. They've got the headrest too high on the back of their head, and that's not a good idea. It's not where it should be. It should be down here, like on your neck, and at that point it will clear. It won't be interfering with the helmet in the rear if you got the headrest down low enough. If it's hitting up here, then you got a problem. And really you should adjust your neck rest to where it's hitting properly and not bumping the back of your head, because then a helmet would be a bad thing.
And there we go. The question that never fails to pop up.
Well,
what does it cost?
That is the one thing that people get depressed when they see this. Their regular helmets, the Kickstarter one, isn't bad. It's above $100. Not a whole lot more. I'd have to look it up and see how much. But this helmet, with all its nice features and so on, is like $250. So it's one of those things that it really does a job. That the light in the front is bright enough that I don't think I'd want to go riding through a whole bunch of wooded paths and trails and so on. But for street riding, it's really good. And I do have one friend that lives in Florida, and during a hurricane problem, when their lights went out, she went around with the helmet on so she could wear it and see things while she was at home, which is a little strange, but it worked. So it's expensive, but if you compare features, especially this rear end with the flashing lights and all that, I think it's worth it. But then that's one of those calls that a lot of people will look at recumbents in general and say, oh God, they cost a whole lot more than, say, I can pick up down at Walmart. Well, what do you want? You want a really good helmet, you're going to pay some money.
Dean Stat is chimed in here saying he's got a helmet with brake lights and turn signals. I assume it's not the Lumos. So Dean, let us know what it is that you have. May not have all the features that this one does, or maybe it does. So let us know what you have there. So Julie Lovegrove says it doesn't seem like there's much ventilation. What do you find it to be comfortable, or what's the deal with that?
I think it's not so much a matter of how many holes as to where they are. I mean, if you have some of these helmets that definitely are just look like a bunch of some straps with holes all over, they're probably going to be cooler. But I found that, when I was in Florida, it got up into the 80s the days we were down there. And I was fine, and I think it's just the way the helmet is shaped and the holes on the top, it just sort of ventilates well. So, I like it. It's, you can see inside, that there are the holes and all that. So it does work pretty well. So.
Very good. All right. Well, a quick hello to Derek Pyrie. He almost never fails to make the show all the way from South Africa. So hi, Derek. No worries, buddy. You can go back and watch this later on, even if you didn't have a chance to watch it all live. So that's great. All right, I guess at this point, here we go. Here's the answer to the question of what Dean was wearing. It's called a Safe Tech helmet. So guys can look that up. I don't know anything about it, but that may be another alternative solution for you. So. All right, Larry, thank you so much. That was fun. You are going to be a regular from now on, and we're going to see, I think, a few more reviews from Larry as time goes on. So thanks again, pal.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks. Let's move on. We did get a classified question here. Actually, I guess a contribution from Bill Fearheller via YouTube comments about a week ago. And he says, if anyone has a Catrike Dumont that they want to sell, contact me. And it's bfearheller@gmail.com. I'll have his link below there for his email. If you do have a Dumont you want to sell, you can contact Bill and go from there. And he also chimed in with how he's coping during the COVID-19 problems. How am I coping? Waiting for all the snow to melt. I'm riding alone for the most part. Hardly anyone out on the trails. Interesting times we live in. Everyone be safe out there. So thank you very much, Bill. Okay, and it's time, I think, at this point. Let's go ahead and get this off. I shouldn't have left that done. Let's see. There's my pal Ed talking about the helmet again. Is it low profile? Is the low profile trying to find a helmet format? Is it low profile? He's trying to find a helmet for his Velomobile when riding with the hood on. So can we bring Larry back quickly there? What do you think about, is it low profile enough to fit under a hood of a Velomobile? It may not be, it looks like to me.
Well, actually, since this is where your head touches, and there's probably from the padding up to the top of the helmet, maybe that much. So, and you could be very tall and be scraping the top or something, but I think it'd be worth a shot to see. You can also, check other helmets out, because really the thickness between the padding and the top of the helmet seems to be similar to other helmets I've had. So,
all right,
an inch or so at the most. So I think it would work.
All right,
but don't quote me.
Thanks. Oh, they'll be quoting you. Don't worry about that. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Larry. I'm going to go ahead and hide that one. And Julie, one last quick one here. Could we review Dabrim one day? So maybe we will get Larry to do that. That's a very popular add-on to a helmet to keep that sun off of you. And I know Julie and I think Mark both use that as well. So we'll look into that. Thanks for the suggestion. I'm not sure. Are those helmets? Is that a safety thing? What is that?
I think that's what it is. It's some sort of specifications that have passed some sort of test or something. I don't want to make a definite yes or no on that. Out on the Lumos website, they will be able to tell you for sure. I would say yes, but I'm not really sure. So anyway, yeah, you will have the link to the helmet and the review out on BetRider. So yeah, I'd advise you. Use the link to go talk to the Lumos people and say, hey, does it reach those specifications or not? So,
all right. Denny, did you have a question? Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure why you're muted. We can't hear you either way. We have a question from Marco. Do the lights of the helmet have any use with the hood on? Does he mean maybe a front visor or something? That the lights are in the back,
or maybe the hood of a Velomobile.
Well, yeah, Marco, I don't believe. Well, maybe he is talking about the earlier Velomobile question, so I'm not sure about that, Marco. But all right. And Ed says thank you. And here we go. There's a guy just bought a Dabrim waiting for delivery, so that's.
I don't have one yet, but I'd love to get one to review. Then because I've seen lots of them too.
Suggestion from Derek Pyrie, check Utah Trikes for stock on the Dumont for Bill, who's looking for a Dumont. Probably he's looking for a used one, but thank you, Derek, for that. Okay, that's it. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Marco, it looks like he was talking about the Velomobile. So, all right. Larry, I can't seem to get rid of you today. So thanks for popping back on.
Let's say that.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's move along, folks. Thanks again, Larry. We're going to have the panel discussion. We may have Larry back on with everybody else. So, Larry, go ahead and bring Doug and Peter. And let's see. And Larry, of course. Here we go. Who else? And Denny. Wow. What is that? It looked like a shot from the moon. Oh, it's Doug. Doug has vacated his seat because he's busy. So we'll just let Peter handle that right now.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, there we go. And there we go. Let me get these guys on. We'll get Trey, probably deserves to come on. And Larry, since Doug's not here, we'll put you on there too, buddy. All right. I've got a question that I had sent to us during the week. We'll start there. And folks, again, this is kind of an open question kind of panel discussion. So if you've got a question for any of our panelists or general question about recumbent riding, trikes, bikes, velomobiles, anything, this is the time. Go ahead.
I got to ask, though, if I answer first, do I get points? And what's the prize at the end?
You do get all the points.
No, I mean, but don't we get, every time we answer a question right, don't we get some points that adds toward the total, and the winner at the end gets $20,000 or something? Isn't that
no, actually, it's Larry's Lumos helmet. It's a great one.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that, Larry, by the way.
I know. I'm so
all right, let's get moving on here, guys. Listen up. Here we go. This is from Devang Desai via Facebook earlier this week. He says, I want to ride on roads and trails in and around Sydney, Australia, where the landscape is uneven with steep climbs, cliffs, and roads along the ocean. What hub gears or traditional gears are ideal? I am not inclined to put on a motor, but will consider it if it's essential. In that case, if I did do a motor, a hub motor or a crank motor or a bottom bracket motor kind of thing. So, Peter, let's start with you on that one. What do you think?
Well, you talk about the ideal hub gear. Obviously, the answer is roll-off, unless there's a budgetary constraint, and then we don't want to talk about that. Roll-off gives the widest range that's available, and if you gear it down to the lowest gear that doesn't violate the warranty, it'll climb really, really well. We've never had anyone have a warranty problem with a roll-off hub, and we have occasionally set one up below the legal limit, but we've never had a problem. So that's the ultimate hub gear. If you want even more high gears, which people do sometimes we put 2 chain rings on or a schlumpf drive, and that will give you crazy high gears, and you can go crazy low gears also, which again will violate the warranty, which we haven't had problems with. When it comes to motors, you know, we've done whole shows on motors, so you can go back and watch one of those. But the hub motor is easier to install. The crank motor is better for hills because you get to downshift the hub gear, and the motor gets the benefit of the gear to climb the hill. So I would say myself, particularly as you mentioned steep hills, I would say crank motor is better for steep hills, and it will put more wear on your drivetrain, but if you can afford a roll-off, you can afford to replace chains. So there you go.
Very good. All right. Doug, we were just talking about.
So I want to go for a different answer and give him so I can get the other points, and maybe I get Larry's other helmet at the end of that. So I would agree with Peter on the aspect of the roll-off being very predictable. It's got very low gears, but it also adds a lot of weight. So you are doing a trade-off for having those gears for the weight. And so we tend to tell people that either can't afford a roll-off or are weight conscious for climbing, that you should go with a nice granny gear in there and use that as opposed to a fancy smancy system like a roll-off, or the schlumpf drive, which Peter mentioned as well. Now, also I would, and that said, I will agree with him on the crank drive. The crank drive is a much better solution for this problem when you need a variable system, because you can let the motor use the gears just like you do, as opposed to a hub drive where your motor is limited to its own torque and its own gear ratio, whatever that was built to. The flip side on that one, just to play devil's advocate, is hub motors typically don't add any drag. So if they turn off or you need to run them without batteries, the drag is very minimalized, whereas the crank motors have some extra drag in the drivetrain. So there you go.
Very good. All right. You think you'll be with us for a few more minutes here, Doug?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I had overload here where we had multiple people coming in wanting tire changes, so I had to run out and change tire real quick.
Problems, because I want to go back to Peter. We have a question specifically for Peter. So did we hear that you will be making the linear long wheelbase with over seat steering?
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
absolutely. We've we built a frame and modified the steering geometry to get the ideal handling for above seat steering. It was actually, I'll give you a little background to how that kind of thing works. You know, was it Einstein that said we stand on the shoulders of giants? Well, I took a protractor out in the front room and I measured all the nice handling long wheelbase above seat steering bikes in the shop, and they're all the same head angle. So we started with that and it works great. By golly, this the oldest bike we have on the ceiling over there is 1978 Tour Easy with the same angle. So that's the angle that we're using. And because it's a foldable bike, if you bought the bike with below seat steering and then said, oh, I guess I'd like to try it with above seat steering, you buy a piece of frame that's about this big that includes the head tube, and you pop that on there and the above seat steering and rerun the cables, and now your bike has above seat steering. And it's got the below seat steering bike has steering geometry that's maximized for the below seat steering handling, and the above seat can have the maximized for above seat steering. And that should be, you know, our factory is up near Rochester, New York, the place that does all our metal work. And I am not sure if they're in production right now. So it's going to be a little while before that's available. As soon as the lockdown's over, we should be able to have that pretty soon. So then all of our models will be available with above or below seat. And another model that we're coming out with is the 20-inch rear wheel bikes. We're going to have long and short wheelbase with a 20-inch rear wheel. That means the bike will fold up and go into airline luggage. We call it the airliner, which is not going to sell well currently because their airliners aren't flying much, but it makes it a really small bike. The rear wheel alone is relatively large with a 26-inch wheel, and it makes it much simpler to go with a 20-inch wheel. So that was a long answer to say, yes, it will, Julie.
All right. And by the way, we had a comment from Isaac Newton who posted that he's a little upset that you thought that was Isaac Newton that said we'll be standing on shoulders of giants. Yeah. It was
with the internet. You have to be careful.
So
it was Isaac Newton. There you go. And he was the man with the lever too, right?
And where Patrick, of course, is chiming in here.
He made fig bars too.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and not to be outdone by was it Yogi Berra that said when you come to the fork in the road, take it. But let's not go down this road, folks. It's so Julie says thank you. There we go. There is another question here. Here. How much faster does a mid-drive wear out chains? I guess as opposed to a hub motor? Is that
I guess I would say that the motor's probably going to put out 2 or 3 times as much power as the rider, so I would expect it to wear out the chain 2 or 3 times as fast. We haven't yet seen a chain wear out from a mid-drive, I don't think, but mid-drives are relatively new in the market, and we'll be seeing that in the future. I'm sure someone on this panel is more experienced. I will now shut up.
Moving on.
I would say the same thing. We see them wear out about 2 to 3 times as fast.
Okay.
So that's I mean, you know, it's exactly what Peter said. It's a watts. How much wattage, how much loads in the drivetrain matters. So we get some road bike guys in here that are capable of putting 200 to 250 watts out. They wear out chains 2 or 3 times a season, and a mid drive's about the same. And I'm one of those guys. I wear chains out all year. I budget 2 or 3 chains for my velo that I ride and my road bike that I ride every year because I'm going to wear it out. And that's just because of the load you put on the drivetrain. And a motor's going to put out more load than I do, fortunately.
Right. All right, guys. Let's. That was great discussion. Let's move on to another one that I I saw this on Facebook from Romain Condit, and let's go to that slide if we could, Larry. And you'll see a nice picture of Romain right there. And he posted in the Velomo group saying, we had some tail discussion in the last days. So I set up, quick and dirty, a compilation of pictures. I think it will make it easier to make this discussion. I sorted them by very pointy, somewhat pointy, and not so pointy, as you can see there. I love this. So, Doug, I guess we're mostly going to be talking to you, and I think we're talking about aerodynamics in general. And we can talk about, tail socks and other ways that we finish off the rear ends of our bikes, trikes, and velomobiles. So I don't know if you'd seen this or not, but I wanted you to chime in on what you think about the various configurations here. And
well, I made a joke, which was unfortunately that a lot of people don't speak English in that group. So I had asked what the whole point was at this, and only a few people got it.
Yes, I saw that and ignored it, and was hoping not to bring that up on the show.
Yeah, well, come on, if we can't do bad puns, where can we go? But so it's interesting. History repeats itself. I remember back in the 80s doing tailbox designs for recumbents and trying to figure out because the tail portion of the vehicle really does create a lot of drag. A lot of people naturally tend to look at the front as the barrier of all things aerodynamic. But if you get into a wind tunnel situation, which I've done again back in that era, there was significant drag being created by the vortexes being dropped off the back. And so there was a whole thing we went through in that era where we were playing with different tailbox designs. You can probably look online for some of the historical stuff. What was it the one of the trikes? Peter, help me out. You're the history. What was the name of that trike that had the carbon fiber tailbox back in the 80s?
Wind cheetah.
Wind cheetah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
the wind cheetah. Had that design. The Lightning had this, and Tim still sells the really cool tailbox pannier set design for the Lightning that helps mitigate the vortexes. Those were things we were doing back in those days. The Velomobile world, which is or remains comments came from, kind of has focused on it and on and off in waves, and so it's coming kind of back into vogue. People are putting tail boxes, tail extensions, and then of course with this matrix, he's kind of shown the different designs that are out there. Some of them are fairly older designs. The Strata and the Mango, for example, have very chopped off tails. And the newer designs like the Alpha 7 and the Milan and things like that have but then you had the Quattrovelo show up, and it has both. It has a very pointy tail and a very swoop back. So it's interesting to see the aerodynamics of all of these vehicles and see how they've done. Unfortunately, back in the 80s, wind tunnel testing was expensive, and now it's astronomically expensive. So we really haven't been able to do that. I keep hoping somebody will wander through my door one day and donate me some wind tunnel time, and I can take all my Velomobiles that we have here in the store through it and find out. But it's very.
I've got 4 or 5 fans here I can loan you.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
I knew that our viewers or panelists would chime in to support you on this.
Well, and I've got a lot of hot air around here too.
I was fixing to say the amount of wind that we generate. I'm pretty certain we could just go
if
in a hallway somewhere.
If we could only focus it.
The internet. Yeah.
Did have the Taco Bell special the other night. So
very good. All right, guys, let's wind this
moving right
here.
along.
Yeah, we're running a little bit late here, but thanks. That was great, Doug, and I knew you'd be able to contribute that to that discussion. And so, folks, I think we're going to move along from the panel discussion. Panel, thank you so much. That was great. Go ahead and put everybody backstage again for now, if you would, Larry. And I'm going to give you a couple of what's coming up kinds of things here. First of all, before we get to this shot, come on back to me for a second. I want to talk about the next town hall. So next week is the next Laidback Bike Report, the regular Laidback Bike Report, next Sunday at 2 p.m. So we're going to have a show I'm going to tell you about in a second. The next town hall will be 2 weeks and a day, because 2 weeks from now, I think it's Easter Sunday. We're going to do a show on Monday instead of that Sunday then, April 13th. And we hope to have more of you viewers on the show as panelists and talk about more interesting subjects like we did today. Now, the next Laidback Bike Report, we can go to the slide, let me tell you, because we got a really interesting one lined up for you. April 5th, so a week from today, 2 p.m. is the time we are always going to now. Bent Up Cycles is owned by Dana Lieberman. He's out there in L.A., and a past panelist. He comes on the show once in a while. Well, he has a great story to share with you all about delivering an Azub Tandem, which is a monster bike. You see it sitting there. He had an order from a customer slash friend of his in Thailand. And so he got this packed up, and he himself flew to Bangkok to assemble and set this tandem up for a couple of tourers in Thailand. So you're gonna love that. It's a great story, and Dana is really an interesting guy to talk to. So we look forward to that next Sunday. And another very interesting guest, Alva Henriksson, the famous Swede Velomobile rider who started a Facebook page called Velomobile 2020. And he was encouraging Velomobile riders around the world to visit 20 countries, or here in the States, I think 20 states, just to get out on tour. And Alva led the way, leaving Sweden about a month ago, I think it was, and headed into Central Europe and got as far as Poland before the COVID-19 started shutting down borders, and he had to leave his Quattrovelo there in Poland and fly back home. So he's on hiatus. I don't believe much of anybody else is doing the 2020 right now, but we do hope that it will get going again when this all improves. He, in any case, is a fantastic photographer, has taken a lot of pictures along the way, and will tell the story of his shortened tour for now, and we'll talk about what his plans are on the future. Alva Henriksson next week. So let's wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching the show again this week. I would like to remind you, if you could, to like, subscribe, and if you can, become a patron supporter for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com. And we'll have those links all set up for you in the description below. And I want to come back and thank my wonderful panelists. Can we pop those guys back on the screen, as many as you can, and we'll thank everyone. So great job, guys. We had to kind of stay light on our feet because lots of crazy stuff going on. Doug, Peter, Denny, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for being on the chats and answering our folks there. Special thanks to Trey for handling the media. He's not done yet. There's a little something special coming up at the end. We'll see if we can pull off. And Larry Seidemann filling in for Lars at the director spot. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate that. Let's see, Larry Varney. We want to make sure to pop him. So get someone down and pop here. Let's get some people down and bring up our guests too. Yeah, we'll take. There we go, and there we go. Let's get everybody else down here. There we go, and bring up our. And we're going to say goodbye to Peter. Bye bye, Peter. Bye bye, Doug. And bye-bye, Denny. There we go. Oh, why can't I do this? Here we go.
Oh, and I do want to mention, today is Dana Lieberman's birthday.
Is today?
Yep.
All right, there we go. That's what I wanted. So, Patrick, we really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. I hope everything goes well there in Cornwall.
Thanks for having us on. It's been really, really enjoyable. Yeah,
it's our pleasure. And of course, with Tuba in hand, Jon Hodkin, InnerTuba. Jon, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Just one thing that I'd like to say, and that is
Sure.
Loads of cyclists who are stranded around the world. And if you find yourself in a position to put somebody up who can't get home, do it, because it'll make a huge difference to their lives.
Very good. That's great advice. Here's some thank yous along the way. Thank you very much, guys. And guys, we're going to have a very special way to end it all.
I don't like saying it that way.
That didn't sound too good, did it?
The final destination.
All right. I guess this is a good point, Larry, to take everyone else down except for me, so we don't get the wisecracks at the end, or the wisecracks should be mine, I guess, to finish off. So Jon Hodkin has recorded a duet, piano and tuba duet, and we're going to finish off with that. Let me take a look here. Are we good to go, Trey? You ready to go? All right. So thank you guys so much. I want to thank everyone who watched today. It's a pleasure having you all with us every week at this point. So thank you very much. So from all of us here at the Laidback Bike Report, until our next webcast, so long, bent riders. All right, let's bring it.
It's on your computer, remember?
So I have to play it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. Let's, don't worry, folks, if you're still with us, and why would you be? Let me see if I can play this. We will
one from the one we did earlier.
Okay, I didn't get that. So I have to, first of all, share that screen. Oh boy. What if we just, all right. Let's try this. La di da. I could sing what he's playing, but I don't think you really want me to.
I vote no.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And we could. It's playing, but I don't know if you can hear it. You guys hear that? Probably not. Oh, I'm doing well here. I got to share with. Okay, wait. Don't give up. This is fun.
I got it now.
Oh, you do? Okay, go. Nah, we're not hearing it. No, really, folks. If you haven't left us yet, I'm going to award you. I'm going to award you Larry's Lumos helmet because I don't think any of my panelists have earned it. Oh, wait. There we go. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it, folks. We heard a little excerpt of it. Jon, I apologize for that. So long, folks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Jon. Bye-bye now.